Welcome to hashtag 52 Boundaries. And this week we are talking about sharing. And I am so delighted to have with me my very good friend, Scott Carson, who is the heart of the business of smiles and the founder of a safe place to land. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Always better when seeing you.
Oh, look, same, right? So sharing a big smile, and I know we're going to go into sharing, but I'm going to share now because we've just been sitting here for half an hour before we came on here, sharing what's going on, talking about the things that need to be talked about, and finding ways to support each other.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I think that's something we could all gift each other a little bit more time with instead of just jumping into something. Take the time to share what's going on so you do sit and understand each other a little bit more. No, it's a little bit sideways to start, but I think it's really important, right? And that's me too, because give me a squirrel and I'm in.
Yeah, sharing is really, really important. It's just that my sense is that we often don't establish the boundaries around sharing particularly well. Like if we're talking about the model that, Nina Brown's model, where we talk about the soft boundaries, the rigid, the spongy, and the flexible boundaries. A lot of people have either very soft boundaries around sharing. You just have to look at social media and see what people share there. And sometimes I go, I really didn't need to know that. And then sometimes I really want to know something that going on. And then I get somebody who says, no, I'm fine. Everything's good. No, it's all good. And that's feelings inside not expressed,
Yeah, I do. And it's whether or not we're safe to do that. And I think that's just watching you then and feeling the body language and the way, you want to listen. And someone's like, no, actually not going to share that. It's because they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go.
No, it's that throwaway line. How are you? And people literally go fine, because they don't want to share what's going on. I mean, it's that smile that doesn't reach the eyes. I'm fine. And people don't. I mean, in Europe, I know that when you say to somebody, how are you? There's a genuine interest behind that. And people will then go, I'm not so good right now. And people will stop. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've been living in Australia for a very long time, and I dip into Europe very rarely these days. But my experience is there's still a little bit more depth than we have here. And that's not criticism. It's just culture.
Yeah, I agree. But it's also your culture, lifestyles, because I feel that in Australia, that it's so busy. There's just so much going on all of the time. Do we actually do we not even have, do we want to make the time to listen to the answer?
Yeah, I know. So we put up the boundaries. As soon as somebody says, how are you? And we go, no, I don't want to go there. I don't have the time to get into this. I don't want to know how you are because I've got to go. Right. Yeah. So again, it's the rigid boundaries. And then going on Facebook and buying into the drama, amplifying it, ranting and raving when somebody has a post, because that's the way then to connect.
Correct. But it's like the two wolves, the positive and the negative one. Oh, excuse me. Now you got two wolves. I think it's an ancient Native American proverb, the negative mindset and the positive mindset. Which one will survive? Whichever one you feed.
Yeah.
And I think being aware of the consequences of what you project is probably the biggest thing, bar none, in any conversation around safety, any conversation around having a boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk around psychological safety, as you just mentioned, and especially when it comes to work. So people don't want to talk about whether they've got mental health issues or whether they've got personal issues, because it's just a minefield these days. You just don't know what to share anymore, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and it's so flexible. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have worked with people and I've just started building a friendship and then they were gone.
Yep.
And so I think the older one gets, the harder it is, supposedly, to be able to, and I've had people say that the harder it is to trust. because, you know, you just never know how long people are around or whether they will let you down. I'll tell you what's going on in my life, and then something happens. And I go, no, I don't think it has anything to do with age. I think that has to do with mindset and with boundaries again.
Yeah, I agree with the mindset. I really agree with the mindset, because depending on whether or not you're independent or interdependent makes a big difference on how you see the world. You know, like the Stephen Covey framework around that is extraordinary, and something that I embrace. We live in a world where it's so complex and there's so much misinformation, or I like to put it, diversity in opinion.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We take too much as gospel,
Yeah.
instead of investigating it.
Yes. So sharing, as I said, sharing becomes a mindset. You don't know what to believe. You don't know how long people are going to stay around. People unfriend you for having a different opinion.
Yes.
Right. So going and sharing with somebody and being really honest and authentic and coming from the heart and being vulnerable, you know, that takes a little bit of time. Right. And either people shut down completely and go, no, this is just too dangerous, or they just go into, I'm oversharing immediately. Because I'm just so happy that I've got the connection, even if it's just on the bus. I mean, I've had conversations with people on the bus where I would come out and go, wow, that's a little bit more than I expected to get to find out about you. But, you know, this person clearly had a need to share.
So it's interesting, because for myself, it's a gift if somebody overshares. It's a gift that somebody is actually safe enough to do that, because I find that in a lot of the stuff that I do, people aren't prepared to share what's going on.
Mm.
You know?
Yes.
And
okay.
I do feel there needs to be a learned responsibility around that. And it's how to explain that to people, because I think both you and I have had a wealth of experiences that allow us to go, do you know what? That's actually a beautiful thing. I really appreciate you sharing that today. And then we'll ask questions around it.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you about that. But again, you and I can hold the space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this without any kind of hubris, or it's just, we have learned to listen. So people open up and they start telling us things right up front, what's going on for them. But and as you said, you know, you've got an organization called Safe Place to Land.
Yes.
Somehow people know that they're safe with us, I think. And I'm just saying this from experience, because people afterwards, they look at me with a kind of stunned look and they go, I normally don't talk about these things. Right?
Yes.
But there are also people who, again, it's the boundary around what is appropriate to share when I get to know somebody in a social context. What do I maybe want to wait with? And, you know, I'm in a lot of cases, I'm a real fan of the slow reveal. You know, get to know somebody slowly, learn to trust them. You know, I mean, I always build from trust, not from, you know, the bank account is zero and you have to build it up. The bank account is full when you come in, and then we build more together.
Yep.
But sometimes it's really risky with people when they start oversharing, as risky as it is when they don't share at all. Because what's the right way?
I think it's not so. I think it's not so much the right way as the right environment.
Okay.
Because how much is too much to share? Well, it all depends on where you are and who you're with. You know, like when's it time to not share? If you're not comfortable.
That's a recognition of boundaries. That's a recognition of what works in this context and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So you need to have some sort of self-awareness around what works in the context and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that's the only thing you're going to be able to play with there is self-investigation, right? Because if you're oversharing all the time, people won't be responding to you.
Yeah.
If you're not sharing enough, you won't be getting out of somebody what you could possibly be getting. So you're not engaging and you won't feel connected.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting subject. I mean, especially coming from my eyes, for somebody who will open up about everything I have. There's nothing to hide, and I love the opportunity to really dive deep and see what we can create by sharing. But I don't do it everywhere.
Yeah.
And in general, I'll take a one-on-one conversation aside from everybody else in order to share things.
Yeah.
You know, even and I'm going to share with you where I've overshared to give you some context. So I run a Monday Mash, which is one of my beautiful places and a safe place to land. It's my premium. There's builders from around Australia, and we've been working together long enough now that we connect on a level unlike. It is beautiful. The amount of amazing stories that come about through positive and negative experiences, because I'm a firm believer that when we share, so much of our stuff is negative because the negative emotion holds us in a harder pattern of recognition, whereas the positive stuff we sort of brush over a little bit too much. You know, and inside a safe place to land, it's really important that we really celebrate the positive things. Make sure that they're at the front of our mind. But I've found myself, because of my life experiences, which are vast, sometimes I've shared things in a safe place to land with people who haven't had experiences close to that, and it puts them on their back feet. And it's fascinating watching their body language as I bring them back up in front. Because knowing when to and how to can only be done by trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, like it's our experiences in life shape us. I really would like to dive into the questions that you have, because I sort of feel that if we dive into those, we can get a bit more of a picture. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I put a list of questions together that I also going to go into a post, but it's about, you know, like when you've got soft boundaries, people generally disclose secrets that other people have asked them to keep. So, and again, sometimes it could be that, you know, a question would be, do you amplify drama? Do you gossip about other people's life events and their challenges and tell people who've got absolutely nothing to do with that, because there's this need to connect with people through drama? Well, you just talked about that. We connect more through negative experiences often and through drama than through celebration. It's like, it's almost this thing that if I share something good that's happened to me or to other people, I mean, you just have to turn on the TV. Bad news sells, good news doesn't. Right?
I'm going to go off on a tangent a little bit here.
You never do that, Scott.
No, I never do that, do I? But I think the human experience has had an extraordinary time of learning what fear and domination can do to it. It's my goal in life to see what love and acceptance would bring.
Yeah.
Curiosity.
Yes.
Digging a little bit deeper. Responsibility for self.
Yeah.
You know, like the intrinsic versus the extrinsic, like it's how you present will determine what comes back to you.
Again, the boundary around sharing. How do I share the information so that the other person still listens? right?
Ask their permission.
Yeah, that is always the key. May I share something with you? Highly underrated.
My go-to,
Mhm.
is it okay if I project?
Yeah.
That's pretty confronting, yeah, because I'm about to tell you something that's only my opinion, and
Mm.
you get to choose whether or not you want to take it on.
Yeah.
When it comes back to responsibility, because if we want people to listen, we have to put some importance around that. This is
Mm.
important to me. I'm about to share something.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. It's good to preface something with, may I share an opinion, or may I make a comment? Or this is how I see this. Would it be okay to share this with you? Anything like that.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah. But we share with people how we feel, and it's not about our feelings. It's not saying, I feel like, I feel this. It is, you make me feel. Or, it's that whole, you have responsibility for how I respond, or how I manage my emotions. And it's like, no, that's not sharing. That's blaming. And that's not
Do you
how.
make it the you make me feel thing?
Oh,
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. What experiences in life have you had that that's how you feel? Because this is just one experience.
yeah.
Your feelings are based upon past scenarios that you're expressing that emotion because of the outcomes of those scenarios. What is it I have to go back and see? Sorry, I just went into, but I love that, right?
Yeah. Alternatively, you could also ask, what is it that you've just heard that prompted you, or that you then felt this way about, how do you, and again, it's like, or you make me really, like, I know you're the same thing, sharing from that place of, I know how you feel. No, you don't. Right. And the boundaries around, and this is again, the sharing around emotions for me is so important, because we give people permission to say, you make me feel, and at the same time we allocate responsibility to their feelings. I mean, it's a total disaster. Often people don't really communicate. They, as you said, they just project, and that's not sharing. Sharing happens on a totally different level. The emotion is there, but you don't have to articulate it in such a way that the person has to be responsible for your response and for your sharing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Like, and I'm just going to go back to the conversation we had before we got on air. Like, we were sitting there for 25 odd minutes having a conversation, sharing what's actually going on in each other's lives, finding support avenues by asking better quality questions to see what comes up.
Yeah.
Sharing is about making something better. Sharing, you're improving things, you're gifting to one another. And a gift makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you've got, again, bringing it back to the boundaries, when you've got the boundaries around it, like, I know when I talk to you, I'm not going to get a phone call from, say, Alan saying, oh, you had that conversation with Scott. So this is what's going on in your life right now. I know that what I tell you stays between the two of us. And I can 150% trust that. It doesn't
And
go
that, and that I love this, because this brings me up. Now, before I got here today, I wanted to understand something, because gossip, right, is not sharing.
No.
Right. And I just want to give the Oxford Dictionary, I should give them some kudos. I like this one. Gossip: casual or unconstrained conversation or reports about other people, typically involving details that are not confirmed as being true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's very relevant, because when you are sharing, you're sharing based upon your truth, not hearsay.
Yeah.
So when you're sharing, checking in with yourself, is this the truth?
Absolutely. And let's take it back to social media.
Yeah.
You know, when you share a post or you share something, I can't tell you how often I see a post being shared about some fact or something where I should have an opinion or sign a petition or whatever it might be. And when I look it up, I go back and find out what it's about. There's no foundation for truth in it. It's just a hearsay, it's gossip, whatever it might be. So I'm a trained historian. I have learned to find at least 3 sources, and sources are not another post that's where somebody posts the same thing, or a newspaper article that has been widely spread out, and what do they call it when they, oh God, I'm missing the word. They the same, they bring it to different news outlets.
Yep.
Whatever it's called. I'll find the word eventually. But anyway, that's not a source. A source is when you hear it really from the person's mouth, or somebody who can give you and says, I was there, I watched this thing. And then we can start talking about sharing. But sharing on social media is, as you said, it's just spreading gossip most of the time.
But it's interesting because social media is one of the greatest opportunities we've ever had. Social media is one of the greatest connectors we've ever had. You and I have connected through the opportunities of Facebook. Like it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But like anything used in the wrong way, it can create a lot of pain. And I think when we're sharing, we need to understand if we're coming from pain or we're sharing for good, and then make a choice of what it is you want to see.
Yeah.
And because I find it, I use social media, especially Facebook, as my platform to connect with people, and I really try to flood it with only positivity. At the moment, we've got the men's group in Frankston, which it's not little, it's quite significant what we're doing down there. And I'm really working hard to just promote positive engagement. Every single post I put up, every single event I have, it's about positive engagement. Because what I want to share is how I want to live.
Yeah. And again,
responsibility.
and you've got guidelines around that, right? I mean, you're very clear in what is acceptable, what is not. And again, when we've got somebody, if we go to spongy boundaries, like it's not knowing what is useful, what is not, what is positive, what is negative. It's just that random sharing, that random connection, right? And again, there's purpose behind sharing. Proper sharing, and I'm using the word proper in quotes.
My boundaries are extremely flexible, and they're flexible because I choose my actions. I choose that I want to promote love, safety, understanding. Choosing how you want to live, I think, is one of the most important things you can do around any boundary, because so often we can have experiences negative that run us off the track. Like someone overshares with you and it just compounds. You don't want to listen to it. It's too much. Acknowledge that.
Same thing over and over and over again.
Acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Actually, you've actually shared that with me a couple of times before. instead of just not addressing it, address it from love. Right?
Yeah.
And in the other way, you haven't shared with me how you felt. Right. And I'd really like to know, hey, I just want to thank you for being here. That means a lot to me. I hope at some time you build up enough trust to share with me how you're feeling, because I'd actually really want to know. But if you don't want to know, don't say that. So just being honest and open about how things are. Look, this is a great conversation because it could go 1,000 different ways. But I think it comes back to a couple of things for me. Responsibility of self. Choosing when to share. Where's your safe place to share? Being aware of your surroundings.
Yep.
Oversharing. Are people listening? If not, go quiet. Don't say anything. It's more powerful than continuing on your story and talking at people. I think it's a really important one. Sorry.
Yeah. And the important thing for me is also have a circle of trustworthy friends around you, people who you can call on when life is challenging. So you can share what's going on from a place of not needing to hide or being fine. Now everything's wonderful, but also not going into drama. And, again, that whole, I'm just going to blah and I'm going to tell random people, but these are the people who hold me accountable as well. Like, as you said, I've heard you talk about this several times now. What are you going to do? How can I help? You help yourself. And again, it's either people have 5,000 friends on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, and they share, or they keep everything so close to their chest that nobody really knows them. But isn't this the most brilliant gift, to be known by people, warts and all? Where you know that, again, you've got a safe place to land. You can go to somebody and say, this is what's going on right now. I'm just going to blah for 5 minutes and then I'm going to get over it.
I really love the fact that you brought up people with a lot of followers. And there's a lot of oversharing going inside groups. Why?
Because there's no real connection in life.
Why are they sharing?
Yeah.
Right. What are they selling to you?
Yeah. All that.
What are they selling to you? Right.
Yeah.
So when somebody's oversharing with you, they're trying to sell their story. They're trying to share what's going on for them. They're selling it to you because they want to be recognized. They want to know that they're making the right decision. But when we're watching AFL or, like maths or whatever it's called, what are they selling to you? What are you buying? Even more importantly, what are you buying in these conversations?
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother conversation that I would love to have.
Okay, so if I summarize it, be mindful of what you share, be careful what you take in, have distinctions around gossip, opinion, make sure that you've got people around you you can trust, you can share things with, and also know when to share and when not to share. Be aware of the environment, because sometimes it's not appropriate to share in a certain environment. And it's about also having some layers around what you want to share. So you don't need to disclose your deepest, darkest secrets and, life lessons and traumata in the first 5 minutes of meeting somebody. But, sometimes the conversation may go that way. You and I both know that. But then it's about holding the space and really, really trusting that the person, that it will stay in that space as well. And if it doesn't, still keep trusting, still keep sharing, just maybe with a little bit more discernment.
Yeah, and thank you. But if I could add a little bit to that, if that's okay.
Please.
I think the most important thing you can do is ask permission to share.
Yes, thank
I
you.
think bar none, it is the number one thing. But when you are sharing, have a look at the people around you. Look into their eyes and see if they're engaging with you. Because quite often, the people in our life don't have the same experiences that we have had. So go and find some lived experience people that have had that experience and just dance with them, because you're going to have a better chance of being heard and understood when you share with someone who's experienced it, because they know how to share those stories. They know how to listen to those stories. And it's one of the most important things. That's why I love what I do. I love walking the streets, because I get the opportunity to share, and people share with me. You know, such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So sharing.
Oh,
thank you. Look, like it's interesting, right? Because it's a conversation, and this is just a dance. Okay, in my eyes, it's Angela and I dancing with the conversation, because it's important to play with it. It's important to practice your sharing.
Yeah.
Find your safe place to land.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love it. I love talking to you.
Well, thank you for everybody for watching and listening to this somewhat meandering and random conversation, but it's, as always, this is designed to get you thinking, not provide you with answers. So maybe some tips. I mean, ask permission before you share. I think is really, really important. But other than that, find your own model, set your own boundaries, decide what you want to share and what you want other people to share with you, because it's always okay to say TMI, too much information. Anyway, we're never going to get to that place, I'm pretty sure. There's not much you don't know about me. But that has taken a while to build up. So I'm really grateful for our friendship. Thank you. And yes. And everybody else, I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.